Comparative literature is a fascinating field of study. It opens up a world of intellectual exploration, inviting us to delve into the depths of literary works from various cultures and time periods. This field is not just about reading books, it's about understanding the intricate web of connections that bind different pieces of literature together. It invites us to explore connections between different literary works. These connections can be thematic, stylistic, or even historical, providing a rich tapestry of insights that deepen our appreciation of each text. These works might be from different countries, languages, or time periods. The diversity of sources enriches our understanding and allows us to see the universal themes that transcend cultural boundaries. By comparing them, we gain a richer understanding of each text and the cultures they come from. This comparative approach helps us to see the unique qualities of each work while also recognizing the shared human experiences that they reflect. Imagine reading a Greek tragedy alongside a Shakespearean play. Both are masterpieces in their own right, yet they offer different perspectives on similar themes. Both explore themes of fate and free will, but in unique ways. The Greek tragedy might focus on the inevitability of destiny, while the Shakespearean play could highlight the complexity of human choice. Comparative literature encourages us to ask why these similarities and differences exist. It pushes us to think critically about the reasons behind these thematic choices and what they reveal about the societies that produce them. What do they reveal about the author's worldviews and the values of their respective societies? These questions lead to a deeper understanding of the texts and the historical and cultural contexts in which they were written. Comparative literature goes beyond simply identifying similarities. It delves into the historical, social, and cultural contexts that shape literary works, offering a comprehensive view of literature as a reflection of human experience. It delves into the historical, social, and cultural contexts that shape literary works. By understanding these contexts, we can appreciate the nuances and subtleties that might otherwise be overlooked. It recognizes that literature is not created in a vacuum. Every piece of writing is influenced by the time and place in which it was created, as well as by the personal experiences and perspectives of the author. Instead, it is a product of its time and place, influenced by a web of factors. These factors include historical events, social movements, and cultural traditions, all of which leave their mark on the literature of the period. By examining these influences, comparative literature helps us appreciate the richness and diversity of human expression. It shows us how different cultures approach similar themes in unique ways, enriching our understanding of the human condition. It reminds us that even across geographical and cultural boundaries, we share common experiences and concerns. Literature becomes a bridge that connects us, allowing us to see the world through the eyes of others. Through the study of literature, we can bridge these divides and foster a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Comparative literature, therefore, is not just an academic discipline, it is a means of fostering empathy, understanding, and connection among people from diverse backgrounds. The scope of comparative literature is incredibly vast. It encompasses literature from all over the world, spanning different languages, cultures, and historical periods. It's like embarking on a grand adventure, where every text is a new destination waiting to be explored. One might choose to focus on a specific theme, such as love, death, or the search for identity. By examining how different cultures and authors have approached these universal themes, we gain new perspectives. We begin to see familiar ideas through a different lens, enriching our understanding of both the theme itself and the cultures that have grappled with it. Another approach might involve comparing works from different genres. How does a poem about war compare to a novel about the same subject? What unique insights does each genre offer? By exploring these questions, we develop a deeper appreciation for the nuances of literary expression. Comparative literature also encourages us to consider the relationship between literature and other art forms. How does a painting, a piece of music, or a film adapt, reinterpret, or challenge a literary work? These interdisciplinary connections highlight the interconnectedness of human creativity and offer new avenues for understanding. While comparative literature celebrates the interconnectedness of literary traditions, it's important to distinguish it from national literature. National literature focuses on the literary works produced within a specific nation or culture. It seeks to understand how these works reflect the history, values, and identity of that particular nation. For example, a scholar of American literature might study the works of Mark Twain or Emily Dickinson to understand American identity and its evolution. They might explore themes of individualism, democracy, and the American dream as they are represented in these works. Comparative literature, on the other hand, steps outside these national boundaries. It seeks to understand how literary works from different cultures engage in dialogue with one another. It recognizes that no culture exists in isolation. Instead, cultures influence and are influenced by one another through trade, migration, colonization, and the exchange of ideas. Comparative literature acknowledges these cross-cultural influences and seeks to understand how they shape literary works. It recognizes that a work of literature can simultaneously reflect its own national context and engage in a broader conversation with works from other cultures. Section 4. A seed sown early comparative literature in India. The field of comparative literature has deep roots in India, dating back to ancient times. The rich tapestry of Indian culture has always been a fertile ground for the exchange of ideas and stories. From the earliest days, Indian scholars have shown a remarkable ability to absorb and integrate influences from various cultures and languages. Indian scholars have a long tradition of studying and translating texts from different languages and cultures. This practice was not just limited to the subcontinent, but extended to texts from Persia, Greece, and China, among others. The ancient libraries of India were treasure troves of knowledge, housing manuscripts that spanned a multitude of subjects and origins. The ancient Indian epic, the Mahabharata, for instance, incorporates stories and characters from diverse regional traditions, demonstrating an early form of comparative thinking. This epic is a testament to the Indian ethos of inclusivity and synthesis, where different cultural narratives were woven into a single grand story. During the medieval period, the Bhakti movement, with its emphasis on devotional poetry, fostered a spirit of cultural exchange. This movement was characterized by its openness to different religious traditions and its focus on personal devotion, which transcended rigid social and religious boundaries. Bhakti poets like Kabir and Mirabai drew inspiration from both Hindu and Islamic traditions, creating a rich tapestry of religious and literary expression. Their poetry often challenged orthodox practices and highlighted the common spiritual essence underlying different faiths. Their works highlight the fluidity of cultural boundaries and the power of literature to transcend religious and linguistic differences. This blending of traditions not only enriched Indian literature but also promoted a sense of unity and mutual respect among diverse communities. The arrival of colonialism in India further spurred comparative literary study. The British colonial period introduced new dynamics, as Indian scholars were exposed to Western literary traditions and philosophies. This period marked a significant shift in the intellectual landscape of India. Indian intellectuals began engaging with Western literature and thought, leading to a period of intense intellectual ferment. They critically examined Western ideas and juxtaposed them with Indian traditions, creating a dialogue that enriched both perspectives. They translated Western classics into Indian languages and explored the relationship between Indian and Western literary traditions. This translation work was crucial in making Western literary works accessible to a broader Indian audience and in fostering a deeper understanding of global literary currents. This period saw the emergence of prominent figures like Rabindranath Tagore, whose own writings reflect a deep engagement with both Eastern and Western thought. Tagore's works are a brilliant example of how Indian literature could dialogue with global ideas while retaining its unique voice. Tagore's work, alongside that of other Indian intellectuals, paved the way for the formal establishment of comparative literature as a discipline in Indian universities. This institutionalization marked a new chapter in the rich history of literary studies in India, ensuring that the spirit of comparative inquiry would continue to thrive. Section 5. Across the Oceans, the French and American Schools of Comparative Literature. While comparative literature has ancient roots, it emerged as a formal academic discipline in the 19th century, primarily in Europe. This period saw a burgeoning interest in understanding how different literary traditions interacted and influenced each other, leading to the establishment of comparative literature as a distinct field of study. Two major schools of thought developed, the French school and the American school. These schools represented different methodologies and philosophies in the study of literature, each contributing uniquely to the field. Each had its own distinct approach to the study of literature. The French school and the American school diverged in their focus, methods, and underlying principles, shaping the way comparative literature was taught and understood. The French school, heavily influenced by the legacy of colonialism, often focused on influence studies. This approach involved examining how literary movements and ideas were transmitted from one culture to another, particularly from Europe to its colonies. They were interested in tracing how literary trends and ideas traveled from Europe to other parts of the world. This often meant studying the impact of European literature on other cultures and how these cultures responded to and integrated these influences. This approach often emphasized the dominance of European literature, placing it at the center of literary study. The French school's methodology sometimes led to a hierarchical view of world literature, with European works seen as the standard. The American school, on the other hand, emerged in the aftermath of World War II. This period was marked by a shift in global power dynamics and a growing recognition of the importance of diverse cultural perspectives. It sought to move beyond the Eurocentric focus of the French school, advocating for a more inclusive approach to literary study. The American school emphasized the need to consider literature from all parts of the world, not just Europe. They emphasized the importance of studying literature from all over the world, recognizing the value of non-Western literary traditions. This approach aimed to create a more balanced and equitable understanding of global literary production. The American school also placed a greater emphasis on thematic and theoretical approaches to literature. This involved analyzing recurring themes, motifs, and literary devices across different cultures and time periods. They were interested in exploring universal themes and literary devices across cultures rather than solely focusing on historical influences. This allowed for a deeper understanding of the shared human experience as reflected in literature. This approach broadened the scope of comparative literature, allowing for a more nuanced and inclusive understanding of world literature. By incorporating diverse voices and perspectives, the American school contributed to a richer and more comprehensive study of global literary traditions.